Today we'll be painting the Knight of Stature by Witchsong Miniatures together, and what we're really going to be focusing on is setting the tone and mood throughout the piece. And I'll start by getting a nice layer of primer on, and I'm using a cheap $15 airbrush for this step so that if I do end up mucking on my airbrush with this thick primer, it's not too big of a deal, and I definitely recommend you do something similar. If you've been into the hobby for a long time, the cost of a cheap airbrush and compressor are well worth the space if you have it. While I'm doing this, I'm really just setting my intention for the model. I'm thinking about doing some kind of metal scheme because I really want him to pop on the shelf from any angle, but we're not just going to use metallic paints and call it a day, which is where a lot of people tend to struggle in my opinion. We're going to try and use the simplicity of metallic paint to force a specific kind of bouncing light, which people generally call TMM or true metallic metal. The metallic paints actually have physical particles in them that glitter and reflect light, but it's also important that we put those highlights in the correct places to really sell the illusion properly. So I'm thinking it would be cool to have our bounce light be kind of an ice blue. Like maybe he's in a cold environment or he's hitting some kind of enchanted crystal or something. But overall, it's going to give the whole piece a bit of a softer atmosphere. And if I'm wrong, at least I like the color blue, and I think it kind of goes with the silver that his axe might be. So it's not really going to be that big of a deal. And at the end of the day, art is quite flexible and there really aren't any right or wrong answers, just guidelines. And so what I've actually done is just ask ChatGPT, hey, what does a picture of this model look like if it was metallic and blue? And here's kind of a reference photo it gave me. So now that I have this ice blue light scheme in my head, I'll be able to create a mental picture of what's going to come next, and that can be my guiding light so that I won't just be reaching over for random paints and stumbling around in the dark. So it's now day 2 after this guy has dried for about 24 hours, and I was 100% sold on my color scheme. I do still like it, so now it's time to get cracking, and I'm going to first start by blocking in all of the highlights, or at least where I think all the highlights should be, with white. And a great tip, if you're not sure of where those highlights should be, is to just take a photo of the piece when it is in its black primer stage, and then see what areas are the shiniest. Move your light around and find that spot where you see all the bright points. And that's a great way to know where the light should be reflecting, and that's where you would put white on the model. But I'm just going to go ahead and put things where I think they should be off the top of my head, because I don't have a particular direction in mind that I'd like this model to be viewed from. I'd like him to be pretty even from any viewing direction, so there's not one specific light angle that I have in mind. So I'll go ahead and let the footage play at 2x speed for now, and you can just enjoy the airbrush ASMR for a while. If you're painting along with me, just fill things in somewhat similar to what I've got going on, or just kind of hit it from the top down with a bit of a zenithal highlight. That's going to be plenty. Or for a non-airbrush option, please just give the entire model a great, good dry brushing at this point, and you're going to be totally fine, and it's going to look super sick. And I'll be back when it's time for an update.
just like this.
Got it. I wonder if it's too dark to see. I guess we're gonna find out.
I think you don't have all the things in like the angle. When you were painting, you're kind of moving your head up.
Yeah, that's fine. Just need to see the model here. I can see it because I'm looking at it right now. Alright, we are back, and now it's time to get some shine into the model. So I'm going to start blocking in all of the metallic bits, and this coverage is going to go over the white outline that I already airbrushed on. It will be fully opaque coverage, so don't panic that the white highlights are going away. My white spots are essentially just giving me an outline of where I should be spraying, but I'm also keeping in mind that I want all of the metallic surfaces to be covered at least slightly. So use a very gentle spray with this, because if you spray too much, then it will just be one flat sheen of metallic, which isn't exactly what we're going for. All right, this is looking great, and now it's time to get some blue in this bad boy. So I'm actually just taking a Liquitex blue ink and just putting a few drops of this into the airbrush mixture that I already have going for me, which is just a Vallejo Platinum Model Air type paint. So it's already pre-mixed so that it goes through the airbrush great. And here we get a closer look of it being this nice light blue color. So I'm just going to spray this, make sure that I'm just doing a very, very, very thin layer so that we get a little bit of a blue shine. But it's very, very important that we don't spray a lot of this. So we just want to cover a very, very small film over the top of what we've already done, because we're not just going to be blowing blue metallic bits all over the pieces we just spent all this time shading, right? We're just going to apply a very small filter to it so that it gets this nice little ice blue type color to it. And we're just going to go around the entire model, make sure that everything has a pretty even coverage of that. And we're just picking out all the spots that it seems like these enchanted crystals or whatever is casting this blue light would be hitting. So that light source is kind of this weird texture of goop or whatever that is that's on the model. That's kind of like the origin point a little bit, and everything that's closest to that is going to have a little bit more blue than the things that are farther away. So we don't want to spray this on the back of the knight or too much on the top of the handle of his axe or anything like that, but everything that is facing down is going to get hit. So his head here, he's looking at the object, so obviously that light is going to be hitting his helmet, right, on all the front pieces of his gauntlets, his shoulder pads, stuff like that. But we're going to leave the crest of his helmet untouched, the fur on the back, his cloak, that kind of stuff is kind of unrelated, and we're going to pick a complementary color for this in the next installment video to really help us pair these things together. So we're going to pick a color that goes well with blue, goes well with the silver. I'm thinking maybe some kind of a bronze on the axe for the engraving, something like that. So let me know what you think if you have a color suggestion. But this is where the art comes in. This is where we just get to decide what we think would look good, what kind of art theory we want to use, if any, or if we just flip a coin and find out. So from here, we're just going to put all the rest of the blue in, and after that, we'll call it a day. So here's what the model's looking like so far. Get a couple touch-ups, make sure you're at the same point here, and I'll just let the footage roll for about the last minute or so, and you can see if there's any spots you missed. Otherwise, I'll catch you in the next one.